Hello, everyone. It's so good to be here with you again. I'll be talking to you about doing mindful reflections about your life and taking stock and the kind of things you need to think about when you do take stock. Have you ever been in a situation where it looks like you're on autopilot, right? It looks like things should be better than it actually is because you're putting in more effort and more work is going into your day-to-day stuff that you do, and therefore you expect to see more results, but it just looks like they're not coming through, and you don't know what to do. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to approach it. And probably someone has said to you, maybe do a reflection, maybe take stock, maybe try to find out what is going on. Some people even say it like, oh, I need clarity. That's the one I hear the most, where people say, oh, I need clarity and I don't know how to do it. You're not wrong if you do need clarity, but I want this video to empower you to be able to do those reflections and seek clarity yourself with little to no further guidance, at least for the first stages of anything you want to do. Like, you just want that mental clarity as to, why do I have my goals and why are the results that I'm getting not matching up with the goals? So it's going to be sort of a mentoring sort of approach to this particular video. So if it's quite direct, sometimes it's just because it's from a mentoring perspective. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is, yes, indeed, you need to reflect. It's like the owner of a business who gets in inventory those sales, but at the end of the day, the money is coming through the bank versus the activities back office. They're not just matching up, and then you don't know what to do. You don't have all of those quality review processes and performance review processes that can really help you identify what may be going wrong. To that business owner, they just need to sit down and count the stock and make sure that everything is going as it should and there are no loopholes. So for the purpose of this video, it is how to identify those loopholes and what you need to do to get you to that point where you're gaining clarity. That is where we are headed. Okay. Now, if you want to do a deep dive into your life and you really want to take stock, one of the things I'm going to tell you, the first thing I'm going to tell you to do, is to get out of your physical environment. I need you to get up and get out. So find some time. You can call it a retreat, you can call it time outside of the family. It's just you. It's just you. Life is serious. Take your life seriously. It's just you. Get out of your physical environment. And the reason why that is so important for you to do is because you do not want distractions from the things that you're used to, including just the normal things that go on in your home, in your office, and all of that. So I need you to take a step away from your physical environment that you're used to. It also helps you mentally to be able to sort of dream as vast as you can, and for you to be able to approach things from a clearer perspective, and from just, you're not seeing the same things you used to see, so your brain is working slightly different. Okay, so what I would say to you right now is, get out of your physical environment. Get an hotel room for a day, a night, a weekend, whatever that means for you. Get out of your physical environment. That will help you get that clearer view, clearer perspective, and it's just breath of fresh air, right? Something different from what you're totally used to. The next thing I'm going to say to you right now is this: you need to pull out your benchmark. So I'm making this video in August of 2024. In January, when you started this year, there were some things you said you were going to do. Okay, you had those plans. They were massive, impactful. They looked like, if you were able to, get them done, it would change your life. Basically, it will change your life. But this is August and it doesn't look like that is what is happening. So you need to pull out that benchmark. For those who are good with writing down what their goals are, the things they want to achieve, this is the time to go pick those goals where you wrote them down, and then compare to what is going on right now in your life. Now, when it comes to pulling out the benchmark, some people did not get good writing down their goals. So they did. And the reason why I use the word benchmark is this: when you're comparing performance, typically you want to compare what you're doing currently with what you said you will do. right? And that's why it's a benchmark. So when you wrote those goals earlier in the year, last year, whenever it is, you wrote those goals, you had those as whatever I'm doing at this point will be compared to those goals that I wrote then. So that's why they are your benchmark, and that's why you need to pull them forward. Now, if you did not write them down, you can take your mind back to the things that you were thinking about in that last week of December 2023. What did it look like in that last week of Christmas / New Year? What were those things that you were thinking about, even in terms of like your finances, your career? What were those things that you were thinking about that you would have achieved by this time? Okay, so those are your benchmarks. So you are bringing those back to the forefront of your memory, to the forefront of your consciousness, because you want to compare them back to where you are now. That's the second step. Bring forward your benchmark, because we need something to compare to, right? The third thing that you need to do is you now need to compare your benchmark to where you are right now. Now, the only thing you need to do differently that you may not have done before is you are not comparing your results, you are comparing the process. And they are two different things. You're not comparing your results, you are comparing the process. And the reason why is this: life happens. Okay, life happens. Even though in January you said, oh, I'm going to write a book, I'm going to get this promotion, I'm going to have gotten this business deal, I'm going to have passed this exam, or whatever, I'm going to have finished my house, or whatever that is. You had that, but right now that is not happening for you, or that has not happened yet for you. Now, if you just go and compare the results, say, I said I would have bought my house by August, I don't have my house. I said I would have bought my car, I don't have my car. Then that is not a constructive way to approach how you have performed, because it could be that some things more meaningful had actually happened in your life that has diverted your attention, and that's absolutely fine. So, but what you need to compare is the process. Okay, in January you said that you were going to lose 20 kg, 10 kg of weight, whatever that is. The question is, through the process, did you stick to those routines you said you will stick to? Because it's very important, because you know that if you continue to stick to those routines, eventually you're going to get to the results. Okay, the results being the destination. Eventually you're going to get there. All right, so you want to compare. In January I said I'll go to the gym 3 times a week. The question is, throughout the last 8 months, did you actually go to the gym 3 times a week? It could be the case that you went once a week, twice a week, but probably not up to 3 times a week. Okay, so when you're comparing the process, it gives you a mental balance as to, and it helps you identify and attribute where the successes are, where the failures are, and what exactly needs to be done. Okay, so when it comes to that, that's just like compare the process, because it's the routines, the habits, and the mini micro decisions that you take that lands you on the results, or that lands you the results. Now, if the mini micro decisions are not what you're comparing, and you're just comparing the results, then you will not be attributing properly, or you will not be evaluating your performance properly. Okay, now the next thing you need to think about is, even though I had those habits on in January, or I had those habits on last year, why did they stop? Why did I stop doing the things I needed to do to change my life? Okay, and that matters, because it could be for a very logical, reasonable reason why that had to stop. For a lady, for instance, it could be you have this massive thing I needed to do, but for some reason, or whatever happened, maybe baby came in the picture, whatever happened during that process, something happened that took you away from that initial goal. So if you're just comparing results, you just be like, oh, I said I will achieve this, I didn't achieve it, and so I'm a failure. And that's not going to get us to where exactly we wanted to get to in the first place. All right. So you want to ask yourself, why did this routine stop? This routine I was looking forward to so much, why did it stop? So it could be for very valid reasons, and by human capacity you were absolutely limited and there was nothing you could do about it. Or it could be the case that you were slacking on some disciplines, and that is well, not okay, but at least you know what had gone down there and you are able to identify exactly what had happened. Because if you're unable to identify, a lot of people say, I don't have clarity, I don't have clarity. But the issue is, if you do not know how to define what the problem is, you're not going to really get to the solution. So you need to come into the habit of defining exactly what clarity means for you, exactly what has gone down, and to determine if they are actually determining things, if they are factors that you caused, or they are factors that have come to play from outside, or from external factors, basically. So you want to think about that, okay? And you also want to think about, how can I you want to think about, what can I do right now to 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 reinstate those routines, those habits. What can I do to reinstate those habits? If you notice, I've not talked about rewriting any goals. I have not talked about updating your goals. I have not, because that is pretty much the very last thing. A lot of people just go from, oh, I wrote a goal in January, it didn't happen, so I'm going to rewrite another goal. That's not going to solve the problem, because you need to get to the root cause of the matter, okay? And that's where we are going. You need to get to the root cause, okay? So you want to think about how you can reinstate those habits, those routines, those things you need to do that will get you there. Even in your business, for instance, how many leads are you generating? How many sales are you making? All of those things, and what is causing it. Do I have the right people? Do I have the right training? Do I, all of that? And you begin to define what success means for you, and you begin to define what you need in terms of resources, in terms of people, all of those. But you need to get to the point where you know the problem. At the very lowest level of disaggregation, you know the problem, and you can define the problem. To a 5-year-old, to a 2-year-old, you can define what the problem is. Then you can sort of design the solution. Okay, now this one is very important, and that is, who is going to help me. Now, if you notice, I didn't say why and I didn't say what. I said who, because you cannot get out of a reflective situation without identifying who is going to be responsible in supporting you to get those goals done. Is important. Now, this person that you have identified does not necessarily have to be someone hands-on or someone physically supporting you. It can be someone very remote. It can be someone who doesn't even know they are in the process. So say, for instance, you typically usually lack motivation to pursue whatever it is you want to pursue as a creative, and it could be the case that there is another creative that is like probably way out of your league or whatever, but they're doing so well, and they have these videos or this content that you go to watch that automatically gears you up, to do what you need to do. Maybe you want to bring them into the loop to say, look, every morning once I wake up, I am going to do A, B, C, and D, and this particular creator is going to be a part of my motivation routine. And I mean it. There was a time in my life when I was going through a very, very stressful situation, like 7 days a week, walking around the clock, very stressful. I enjoyed it, but it was very stressful. And some mornings, after having maybe like 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep, I just needed that extra motivation to go on. I had to identify one particular creator on YouTube whose video once I open my eyes on the bed, I'll click on their video, then they start talking to me. Like, they don't know they're in my life, but they are in my life. They start talking to me like, get up, it's a new day, you need to do this, you need to do that. That fills me up with so much energy to go on, and that really worked for me for a period of about 2 to 3 months when I had to go through that absolutely stressful period. Now, if I did not identify who can help me through that process, I may struggle every morning I wake up from that stressful situation. Okay, so you need to identify who, and your person, maybe someone who is physically there, maybe your partner, your husband, your wife, your children. It doesn't matter, whoever it is. If you have the luxury of having to talk to them, tell them the role you want them to play in your situation, and then kick it off. So you need to identify who that person is before you go away from that reflective situation. Okay, the next thing I'm going to say to you is you need to redesign that goal that you have, especially given your wider circumstance. A lot of people just say, oh, because they've seen someone done this massive thing, I want to do it, forgetting their own situation. So, for instance, I want to travel to 5 countries in a particular year. Meanwhile, you have two young toddlers, you have all sorts going on with you. It's almost impossible for that to happen, given your toddlers will have to be in school, you're working, your husband is working full-time and all of that. Sometimes you need to readapt that goal to your own circumstance and say, okay, this particular goal, I love it, I want it to happen, but in my wider situation, we may not be able to do 5, we may be able to do 2, we may be able to do 3, I may be able to do 2 solo ones, maybe able to do 1 or 2 with my family, whatever that is. But you need to sit back down and readapt those goals to your own circumstances, given your own wider circumstances. And that's why a lot of people, when they sit to write down their goals, they just write things because they've seen others do it. You need to bring all of yourself into the goals that you're writing. Another thing I'm going to say to you is this: your goals have to be very much time bound. On a micro action level, it has to be time bound. For instance, I want to write an exam in December, for instance. This is August. By the end of September, for instance, what do I need to have achieved? Maybe I'm writing 5 papers, for instance. I needed to have been able to complete the first mock on paper A by the end of September. I needed to have done 2 mocks on 2 other papers by the end of October, and by the end of November, and by December. You need a timeline that shows you the things you should have achieved at various points that will get you to the end result. So you're not just looking at the end result, you're looking at those disaggregated actions that you need to take throughout the period. Okay, another thing I'm going to say is this: your goal is very big, but you still need to break it. So you need to break it down so much that on a daily basis, there is something you're doing on a daily basis that moves you towards that goal, such that every day before you wake up in the morning, you already know, towards this particular massive goal that I've got, this is what I need to do today. And by the time you get how many days, 90 days, 120 days, whatever that is together, all of that builds into getting you towards and closer to your goal. I hope this has been very, very helpful for you. That is how to go through a typical reflective situation or a reflective moment with yourself, just going through your life, the various areas of your life, your career, your finances, your education, whatever that is, whatever that is. And for you to say, okay, ask yourself important questions, get the answers, and don't forget, before you get the answers, you need to be able to define the problem. Once you're able to define the problem, you are most likely able to design the solution. Thank you very much for having me, and seeing you in the next video. Thank you.